What's going on? It's Bill Burr. This is another episode of the Monday Morning Podcast. So I was talking to a lady. Just kidding, yo. This is the Review Space. Welcome to episode 2 of Turning 30. What I learned in my 20s podcast. Yeah, I'm just going to officially start calling this a podcast. I mean, that was a little reference. Of course, it's not Bill Burr. This is the Review Space. But Bill Burr is kind of an inspiration to me. He is easily one of the best, or at least one of the most prominent podcasters out there. And I guess I might as well start calling these videos podcasts, because that's pretty much what they've turned into. I got the first episode that I uploaded, talked a lot about the gaming and wrestling and stuff like that, and Craigslist. But this time around, I want to talk about more different things, and I want to talk about my 20s some more and what I learned in my 20s after. This is the year that I turned 30. This is the year from 1987 to 2017. I got 3 decades of experiences and thoughts and opinions. So, hey, so you ain't getting Bill Burr, but hopefully I can provide some audio podcast, more podcast goodness for the masses out there. I'll try and do what I can and be, at least, if I can be half as entertaining as Billy Burr with his Monday morning podcast, I can't even really do his voice, but, he does that. So I was talking to a lady. How many of those movies are they gonna make? He has that upward inflection. His voice kind of goes high-pitched. It's kind of funny, but I don't know. I don't think I'm nearly as funny as Bill Burr. I'm not really a funny person. I don't consider myself a comedian. That's why I'm not in stand-up comedy. I'm just not that kind of that quick, snappy, quick, jokey, witty, super funny type dude. And I just can't do it like that. But what I can talk about is my own experiences, and we're gonna get to a lot of different topics today, and there's a lot of things I want to talk about, including money getting stolen from my bank account, health issues, skin issues, and things like that regarding my own health that I had to deal with in my 20s, and dealing with health and eating certain foods that might benefit you, and the 90s and the 2000s, basically pop culture, music, and things like that. I might talk about video games, and I also I want to focus more on some wrestling stuff, just to kind of get my pro wrestling fix and get that out of the way. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about wrestling right now. In the 90s, and I mentioned this before, but pro wrestling was super hot back in the 90s decade, especially in the late 90s when we were in the middle of that Monday Night Wars, WCW versus WWF, and the Attitude Era, when ratings were so high. It was like 8-point ratings, and it was an average of like 5.0s and 4.0s every single week. So it was millions and millions, and way more people watched wrestling back then in the late 90s. It was a lot more popular. So naturally, as you can imagine, a lot more people wore wrestling t-shirts. They wore wrestling merchandise. They would wear a lot of professional wrestling. They got logos on their t-shirts, and back then what was really popular were the black t-shirts, kind of like bands. A lot of band merchandise where you'll have a black shirt, but the logo or the icon, some kind of graphic on the t-shirt at the front. So whether it's Nirvana or anything, like Alice in Chains, or any of those bands from like the late, not the late 90s, but from the 90s and beyond. That's the typical popular attire. So in pro wrestling, that was also very common too, where you basically had this black t-shirt and then some kind of logo, some kind of professional wrestling emblem or logo or slogan, and sometimes even a likeness, an illustration of a wrestler. So back in the late 90s, we had the popular ones were easily like Stone Cold. So it is very common to see somebody with a Stone Cold t-shirt. Austin 316. the NWO, WCW t-shirts were really popular too. This one called WCW NWO Broken Bones Rule. I remember that one. It said Broken Bones Rule, I think, at the back. And even that kind of shirt, that t-shirt, was like banned from my school in Surrey, BC. You know, so it was actually banned from elementary. This was around like '99. You know, so this was like grade 6. And the kids in grade 7, some of them had that t-shirt, like Broken Bones Rule. And some of the, I guess it might have been maybe the staff of the actual school were like concerned about it. They sent out flyers to the parents. You know, they just sent it out. You know, in school they would give you flyers sometimes to send home to your parents and stuff like that, just to get some messages out into the community and stuff like that. And basically as a way for the school staff to communicate with the parents, and with the idea that you are bringing home this flyer, this leaflet, to your parents, and they would read it, and, you know, our school does not tolerate promoting violence. You know, we don't promote t-shirts and professional wrestling that promotes violence, such as a t-shirt that says Broken Bones Rule. I do remember reading that particular leaflet back in the day, and it was like, oh my god, like, are you serious? You know, are you kidding me? You know, they really try to make, I don't know what it was with my school. Maybe it was different for yours, but in my elementary school, like here in, you know, in BC, Canada, in the late 90s, I mean, everything was so PC. You know, it was just so politically correct, and everything, they really had to, even something like that, like a t-shirt, a wrestling t-shirt that says Broken Bones Rule, which, you know, has vague messages of like promoting violence, I guess, but it's really not that big of a deal. Everybody was into pro wrestling, and I guess I can understand from their point of view. I mean, these were people, these were, you know, teachers and staff at school that were, they grew up in the 1960s and the 1970s, so they grew up in a more in the previous generation, not even the Generation X, but in, I guess they would be baby boomers. You know, the boomer generation of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, as opposed to the more current Generation X. And so, I don't know, it's like they just didn't get it. They didn't understand that wrestling was cool. You know, professional wrestling was highly frowned upon in elementary, in my elementary school back in the late 90s, by the staff, by the actual adults that worked at the stupid elementary school. You know, it was just really, it was kind of annoying. They saw it as like beneath them or something like that. You know, they saw like WWF and the content that was out. It was very racy. It was very geared towards a more mature audience, you know, adults, and, you know, you got Sable coming out half naked, and a lot of swearing and vulgar language and stuff like that, and Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, and they were all cursing, and, you know, there was a lot of, I guess you could call it potty humor. It was just the Attitude Era. The product was more, it wasn't so kiddified back then. It was aimed towards a more adult-oriented product, and that was cool. That's what made it awesome. That's what made it so watchable and fun and exciting. And it wasn't just because it was violence and language and half-naked women, but how they were presented. You know, the storylines and the way that they booked the storytelling back then, and the way that they booked and the way that they promoted and the way that they developed the characters, it was actually good. It was watchable for the most part. It was fun to watch. So even though you had somebody like Val Venus coming in, and his gimmick was basically he was an adult film actor. He was a porn star. He was a male porn star. He would even have like Jenna Jameson, who was this famous porn starlet from the 90s. She was appearing with him in their vignettes, in Val Venus vignettes. They would promote him, and, you know, there's Jenna Jameson pretending to go down on him. So that was the Attitude Era in a nutshell. It was very, very racy, and it was very geared towards a more mature audience. So wearing a t-shirt that says Broken Bones Rule, and ironically it was WCW. WCW was more family oriented. It was more family friendly. But even a t-shirt like that, Broken Bones Rule, that's, oh, that's too violent and we can't have that at the school. So yeah, that was pretty annoying. And I remember even getting into trouble one time, and this might have been like maybe late '97, early '98. And all the kids in the classroom, we would do the DX chop, the cross DX chop, like the suck it chop. Because again, DX was really popular back in the day, back in '97, '98. I mean, that was a really popular stable. It was a very influential. We always saw DX every single week on Monday Night Raw, just doing funny stuff, having promos, segments, and they were constantly on the air, and they were constantly they were portrayed as being very cool. And back then it was Shawn Michaels, HBK, Triple H, Chyna. I think they had Rick Rude in there for like a brief period until he went to WCW. But it was the three of them. That was the stars of DX. Shawn, HBK, Hunter, Triple H, and he was just the lackey of HBK back in the day. He was just the sidekick, Like Shawn Michaels was the world champion, the WWF world champion, so he was the main guy, the leader, the alpha male of the group, and then you had Triple H was the sidekick, the guy who he was his backup, his tag team partner, but he played the background kind of thing, and then you had Chyna, who was this very muscular, masculine-looking woman, and she had a very different look, and she looked like a really dominant, imposing figure. What was I getting at? So anyway, yeah, wrestling t-shirts. Speaking of wrestling t-shirts, what I was trying to get to was that at this modern age, and even throughout the 2000s, when I was, like 10 years ago, when I was 20, and going through my 20s from 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, etc., etc., it was a lot less common to see somebody wear a professional wrestling t-shirt. Way less wrestling shirts nowadays. I hardly ever see anybody rocking a professional wrestling piece of merchandise, wearing a shirt. You never really see that anymore these days, and that's kind of a sad thing. That shows you how unpopular wrestling has become. It's really not that. It's not as well liked by the audience anymore. It doesn't have that big of an audience anymore. It's not as mainstream anymore, and it's really kind of sad. It's not as cool as it used to be, and that's a perfect indicator right there. I mean, the fact that nobody wears wrestling shirts anymore. Once in a while, I could count on one hand the amount of times I've seen somebody wearing a wrestling shirt in public. Here in BC, Canada, and maybe a couple of times. So like 2 times I saw this one girl. She was wearing a John Cena t-shirt. This might have been around like 2012 or 2013. I was at I walked by McDonald's, and I could see through the window and the people eating inside of the McDonald's, and I saw this one girl, and she had a big John Cena t-shirt, the yellow one. And I also saw this other kid at the mall. Some other kid, and this was a different day, and maybe this one was like 2011 or something like that, 2012. Some other kid, and he was wearing a John Cena t-shirt. So, I mean, I'm not a fan of John Cena at all, and I would be the first person to openly criticize him, but I would never really make fun of these people that have John Cena shirts. I can't. Because when I see somebody wearing a John Cena shirt, it's like, oh, that's a fellow wrestling fan. Oh, that person likes wrestling. Like, oh, look, they like WWE like I did, So I see them as like kindred spirits. Like, oh, okay, that's cool that he's rocking, or, that person or that girl is wearing a John Cena t-shirt. I can't even bring myself to be like, oh, Cena sucks or whatever, have that hater attitude or criticize John Cena. Like, why do you like John Cena? He's terrible. I can't even do that because it's like there's so few wrestling fans nowadays anyway that it's like it's so difficult to even, like, I just feel happy that I see somebody wearing a wrestling shirt as opposed to back in the late 90s. Like, if that had happened in the late 90s when you were wearing a wrestling t-shirt in the late 90s, in the middle of the Attitude Era, and you were rocking a wrestler that wasn't particularly popular, everybody would criticize you for it. You know what I mean? Oh, you like that guy? That guy sucks. Or you like that guy? That guy's terrible. But it was actually more acceptable maybe back then because wrestling was so popular, and it was so everybody was into it, or most people were into it, that they knew the characters. So they would be like, oh, I don't like that guy. I don't like that guy. Why? You have a Chris Jericho t-shirt? That guy sucks, you know? Well, you got that Undertaker shirt you're wearing. Oh, he's terrible. He's garbage. You know? So everybody would kind of get criticized, but nowadays it's like I can't even do that. I can't even make fun of somebody that has a John Cena shirt because it's like, oh wow, it's so rare to see somebody who's a wrestling fan. So that's the culture that's changed, and you know, this has happened in the past, like again, the past 10 years. I've only seen it happen a couple of times in real life where somebody is wearing a wrestling shirt. You just never see that anymore nowadays, and you know, obviously that's a crappy thing in my opinion. I can't blame the people that left wrestling or stopped watching it. Even I stopped watching wrestling, you know. As a matter of fact, this was the first week since last week, like today is, I'm recording this on, what day is it? Monday. So last week's Monday, I haven't watched wrestling. I don't care. I haven't paid any attention to any of the podcasts, you know, because I always listen to wrestling podcasts and stuff like that. Listening to JD from New York and Solomonster. I haven't listened to those guys since then. I pretty much stopped, you know, pretty much like cold turkey. You know, I don't want anything to do with hearing about like the latest WWE news or a review of Monday Night Raw or a review of SmackDown. I'm not interested in it anymore, and I don't even want anything to do with it. Like even at my YouTube page, when I see a suggested video, WWE suggestion, you know, WWE suggested video, a match or a promo, you know, like, because based on your viewing history on YouTube, you get constantly promoted by this stuff that you generally watch on YouTube. And I watch a lot of the wrestling stuff over the years, so I get constantly bombarded by wrestling WWE related videos. So I have to keep like clicking on the thing and, you know, not interested, click, not interested. So just keep shutting down the wrestling related videos. I'm done with it. I don't want to watch. So it's been a week, you know, no wrestling, not interested anymore, no more WWE. Try to stay away from any kind of wrestling news. No TNA, no ROH, no WWE, nothing. You know, no indies, even the indie stuff. You know, so I'm basically just I'm not interested in it anymore. I mean, I can't help it. I do see a few like news articles here and there. I'll just get a clip and something will pop up that will grab my attention. And one thing that did get my attention, and this is going to sound kind of I don't know, it's not even really that controversial. It's happened so many times, but another wrestler, another WWE superstar has her leaked nude photos leaked on the internet. That's right, exposed online on the internet. And this one happens to be Charlotte Flair. The beautiful Charlotte Flair. And I'm a fan of Charlotte. You know, I think she does great work. She's probably the best female wrestler overall performer right now. I guess Alexa Bliss and Sasha can give her a run for her money, but Charlotte is one of the best that company's ever had. It's crazy. She's like a female young Ric Flair. It's insane. But yeah, her nude photos were basically leaked online. And I don't know who's doing all this hacking stuff. I have no idea who's doing it, but whoever's doing it is gotta be like an internet beast, you know what I mean? This person is a freaking just a whiz at being able to hack these profiles and these wrestlers and these celebrities. You know, it's not just happening to WWE wrestlers and professional wrestling people. It's happened to celebrities over the years. It's happened to famous women in the celebrity Hollywood limelight. You know, singers and famous singers and actresses and stuff like that. So now, of course, like, female pro wrestlers are not out of the question. especially if they're, they're obviously in the public eye. The WWE wrestlers, they're in the public eye, and so I guess some people out there would be just so focused on trying to get their nude photos. Well, what's crazy to me is that it's like you don't even need Playboy anymore. You know what I mean? You don't need Playboy. Like, I still have copies of old school Playboys from like the late 90s, early 2000s with Sable. So Sable is the former WWE diva. Big star back in the late 90s, and she did Playboy a couple of times, She posed nude in the famous Playboy magazine. China, I got the issue of China when she did Playboy as well. And, so some of these female WWE wrestlers and personalities, the divas, they would do Playboys back in the day, late 90s, early mid 2000s, as far back as recently as probably the mid 2000s. Ashley Massaro and those kind of people, from right up until the end of the Ruthless Aggression era. Before everything became PG. I think when they became PG, then they stopped doing the Playboy stuff. But it's like we don't even need Playboy anymore to see these WWE female wrestlers naked anymore. Now it's like they're doing it themselves. These chicks are freaking taking selfies and nude photos of themselves in front of their bathroom mirror, and just basically posing nude with their naked breasts. With their panties gone, so you can see their, the fur in the middle and between their legs, and they're all completely naked. So I mean, they're completely nude, taking selfies, and it's like they don't even care. It's like I don't get it. I honestly don't understand it. To me, that reeks of vanity. I've taken a couple of selfies myself, not nude ones, obviously, but I've taken a couple of selfies once in a while, but it's not very common. I don't like constantly do it where I have to constantly snap photos of myself consistently, and just this constant thing where I gotta have the attention to me all the time. I gotta have my image or my likeness. I have to constantly look at it, or like have that image preserved all the time. It's so odd to me that these women, such as Paige, Caitlyn, maybe Summer Rae, Charlotte, all these women constantly taking selfies and self-images and photos of themselves consistently, like they, it's, I don't know, I don't get it. Me being 30 years old, I don't feel like I'm too old to kind of understand that mentality. I think I'm right up there along with those people, Some of these people are a little bit older than me. I think Charlotte might be a year or maybe a couple of years older than me. I'm 30, so maybe she's like 31 or 32. So it's like we come from a very similar generation, just in terms of like technology and the selfie generation, I guess, where people are so obsessed, and this narcissistic nature that people have to constantly see themselves getting their image preserved on these photos. Like, I gotta take a picture of myself, I gotta take a selfie, I gotta take a picture of myself. I mean, it's like, it's ridiculous. It's so and I can't even like completely say it's stupid. I was about to say like, oh, it's so stupid, but I mean, I can't even blame them, because that technology is available and they have access to it. So it's like they're having fun, and like, who am I to say that they can't take photos of themselves? It's just, that whole stupid thing where I'm going to pose in front of the mirror and take a photo of myself naked with my titties out and my vagina's out, and the whole world might be able to see it, and it's like, I know that's not the intention of these women, but it's like, when you record yourself, like Paige with her sex tapes and her leaked sex tapes and nudes, I mean, that was recorded. You know what I'm saying? That was recorded on camera, and it was recorded. Now, it was wrong for somebody to leak it. And I'm not even going to fully complain, because it's like, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't, like I said, like, who needs Playboy? You know what I mean? Like, I get a kick out of seeing some of these chicks nude, because it's like, that's hot. You know what I'm saying? That's sexy. And it's like, oh, okay, that's, woo, I saw the photos. I saw Charlotte's nude clips and nude pictures. I should say nude photos and gallery. It's available online. I've seen them, and it's all right. It's nothing shocking. It's nothing shocking. It's, I don't know. Like, on one hand, they can do whatever they want to do, but on the other hand, it's like, it's so freaking narcissistic to me to constantly just taking nude selfies. It's so idiotic, and it just reeks of like this I don't know, obsession with yourself. They're so I don't get it. That idea that you're always having to take photos of yourself, to me, just reeks of obsession and constantly wanting some kind of weird self-validation that you're hot. Like, look at me, I'm hot. Ooh, I gotta take a selfie. It's like, it's no different than people that look at themselves in the mirror all day, every day. People that sit in front of the mirror obsessing over their looks. To me, it's kind of a similar mindset. But no need for Playboy. So it's like, even with this PG rating, it's like, the PG rating, they're not doing Playboys anymore. So you can't ogle at these beautiful WWE divas anymore at the Playboy nudes. You can't have that anymore. But now it's like, who needs it? You got the chicks taking photos of themselves nude and naked, and that spills onto the internet. And that's just a product of this technology. It's just a product of modern tech. I will say, what's disgusting about that was the NXT belt getting, let's just say, getting splashed with some juice from her male partner when Paige was doing the her little tapes and her photos, and that was kind of nasty, considering all the other women that held on to that title. All the other female wrestlers that have had that title, from Asuka and everybody else, Sasha Banks and Bayley, that held that NXT women's title. And then, of course, they had to change it. They had to change it earlier this year. It might have been just a month ago. Yeah, prior to the WrestleMania weekend, just last month, early April. I think that's when it happened. They actually changed the NXT title, so they had to change the NXT main title for the men, the women's title, of course, as an excuse, and the NXT tag title. They wanted to change all of it, but it was just because of the whole Paige debacle with stains on her freaking NXT title. Brad Maddox. Oh man, I gotta give props to Brad Maddox, though. He was able to have his way. That guy is a pimp. That guy is. He was able to tap that page. You know what I'm saying? It was crazy. So anyway, moving on to some other ish. Let's see. Oh yeah, speaking of podcasts, wrestling podcasts. Yeah, no more Salamonster. I don't listen to Salamonster anymore. Still, he's probably one of my favorite. He might be my number one favorite podcaster ever, out of all of them. Salamonster, I think, is tremendous. JD from New York is also really good. I love his energy and charisma, his obnoxious charisma. So these guys are really good, but it's like, I can't even watch any wrestling related stuff anymore, simply because I want to stay away from it. I don't want nothing to do with it. Alright, let's talk about some other stuff. I wanted to talk about, oh yeah, speaking of money getting stolen. Yeah, these transitions are actually pretty bad. I'm trying to transition it to stuff getting stolen. Speaking of theft, we're talking, since we're on the subject of photos being leaked and photos really being stolen, some kind of illegal stuff going on, and having your identity being displayed out there, and having your likeness and your images and leaked nude photos and stuff like that. My money was stolen from me through some kind of identity theft earlier this year. You know what I'm saying? Earlier this year, I basically had to deal with hundreds of dollars from my bank account being taken. You know what I'm saying? So my money was stolen from my account, and that really sucked. That's not a good experience at all, and that really actually pissed me off. You know what I'm saying? That made me really angry and very skeptical and very not suspicious, but like it made me lose trust in not just online banking, but just having some kind of account, some kind of bank account. So basically, here's what happens: I have a checking account, from the banks. So I use that, and I have a little debit account, a little debit card that I use every now and then when I want to spend a few, few dollars here and there. So I've had a couple of $100, what I'm saying, saved up in there, and a lot of that is also money that I just keep in there just in case I need to buy something right away, really quickly. So there's a couple of $100 in my little debit account. And for somehow, some way, that money ended up getting stolen, and I have a couple of theories about it. I remember trying to log into the website of the bank. I tried logging in, I tried to make an account actually, and I just couldn't make an account for some reason. I just couldn't do it. I tried logging in with my number and everything, and it just didn't happen. It just didn't. I don't know. It just didn't work. So it was a failed, botched attempt. I couldn't really log into my little bank account, and it just didn't work. So fast forward a couple of months later. So this stuff happened last year with the whole trying to log in thing. So earlier this year, I had some money stolen from me from my account. Now I don't know if it was because of the online thing and somebody was able to detect it and my password and everything, or it was because through some other thing where my information was somehow taken from me. My information was somehow acquired by somebody else, and so it's kind of a weird thing. And I mean, I don't know if it was because this happened, but I know somebody that's very close to me. They had access to my number. It's not like they knew my number, but this person would sometimes give me money through their account, through their number. So they would send me some income, some money every now and then from their account to mine. And what happened was this individual's, I get it, like their phone was taken or stolen, or they lost their phone. Basically, they went on vacation and they lost their phone. And my only takeaway from that is, I mean, if you ever lose a phone, or even if you know somebody else, like a parent or a brother or a sister, anybody that's really close to you that may have information on you, if they lose a phone, if they lose their phone that has a lot of information, I'm talking about like a smartphone, I'm talking about a smartphone, an iPhone, anything like that. If they lose anything like that, you might want to change your bank account number, password. So you might want to change your sign-in password, or whatever you want to call it, your password for your bank account. You might really want to do that, and even change your bank number. You know what I'm saying? So your account number, you might actually want to do that like right away, like immediately. So if you lose a phone, if you lose a smartphone with potentially some information on there, that's a pretty smart way to do it. And maybe I should have done that right from the get-go. It was weird because it happened like in the same month, in terms of like this person that I knew, their freaking phone went missing. It was lost, probably stolen. It was gone when they went on vacation, and then they came back. They were like, "Oh, I lost my phone," yada yada yada, and I didn't think much of it. And then next thing you know, a couple of weeks later, money was being stolen from my bank account. I checked in to my debit account. Took a look at the checking history and everything. Turned out hundreds of dollars were taken away. I was like, God dang, what the hell's going on? It was crazy. It was like like a punch to the gut, a slap in the face kind of thing. It was nuts. And that's another thing is, it's probably a wise idea to keep checking your bank account, your debit account, your credit card account, whatever you have, your bank account, and every single couple of weeks, at least every couple of weeks, if not once a week. Sometimes I would go for months and months and months and not even checking what's going on, because for years and years and years, I've had my account since 2011, since late 2011. So I've had it for over 5 years, and for the most part, in most of that 5 years, that half a decade basically, that's never happened before. It's never happened to me. I've never had money stolen before. So this was something new and recent. So when it finally happened, it was like I was so. Before that, I was just so used to my money just being intact. And it's like, there's no way my money's going to be stolen from my account. There's no way. That's never going to happen. So sometimes I would go for like 5 months, 4 months, 5 months, 3 months would go by without me checking what's going on with my account, because I would, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, my account's all right. It's fine. It's doing good. It's not hacked or anything, or nobody's stealing money. You know what I mean? You just don't think about that. You don't think about that stuff. You don't think about, oh, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and check out my bank account, and oh my God, it's missing $200 or $300, So it happened over a period of time. It happened really quickly. So this person lost their phone that I knew. They lost their smartphone, presumably with all kinds of information in it. That was gone. And so a couple of weeks later, my account started losing money. And at the beginning, when I looked at the history, it happened over a couple of days. So the first day, it was like just a couple of dollars were taken away, like $25. You know what I'm saying? And it started to gradually, a couple of days went by, and it was like $50 was taken away. So it started to double. It started to double the amount that was being taken away. So it was like $25 gone. $25 gone again, and a couple of days later, $50 gone, and then another couple of days later, it was like $95 gone, $95 gone, So it kept amounting to like hundreds of dollars lost. I was like, holy crap, like, god dang, this is terrible. Some jerk off out there is jacking my money. You know what I'm saying? And just ripping me off. Somebody is falsely taking my stuff, taking my income, you know what I'm saying? Illegal stuff. So I got pissed off, obviously. I got really mad. I was like, I don't even know how the heck this happened, you know what I mean? Never imagined it in 5 years that I've had that account. It's never happened before, like I said. So I eventually contacted the bank and everything, and it was kind of problematic at first because you have to go to one of the branches. So you have to go to the actual bank, talk to the person there, one of the people at the front, I don't know, the teller, and you would try to get them to help you. Basically, I got this problem. I got money stolen from me, yada yada, from my account, and the individual was basically unhelpful the first time around. They would just say, "Oh, you know what? You got to contact this number. You got to contact this number. You got to contact this number if you lost money." And so I did. I tried that the first time around. I went home. My money, they were not taking care of it. They never took care of it the first time around. They were just like, go phone the actual number of the bank. Go phone somebody. Here's a phone number, and contact them, basically. So that's what I did. And they were unhelpful, and maybe it was just a bad communication kind of thing. Like, I remember phoning the person, and it was basically the bank, what do you call it, a call-in helpline kind of thing, in order to get your money back. So if you ever have kind of money stolen, or have your, what do you call it, your identity used and money stolen from you, it was basically that kind of service where they help you out and everything. So I talked to the person. The person was kind of helpful, but they really weren't. It was kind of like it just didn't work out. They asked me for my password, not my password, but like my account number and my history of the with the bank, my history, like when did I first create my account, and this was like, I mean, I don't memorize stuff like that, you know what I mean? When I first created my account back in late 2011, back in 2011, it's like I don't memorize the same exact date, not even the same. I can barely remember the month that I started it. I was like, maybe October, maybe November, December, something like that. Like, I could barely remember because it was so many years ago. So this person was firing all kinds of questions, and I had to answer all these questions for this person, and it just didn't work out. So they couldn't help me. Like, I'm going to have to refer you to a branch, a local branch. And so that's what I did. I was like, so I'm thinking in my head, like, damn. So even this person over the phone that I'm supposed to be getting help from couldn't help me. Now I got to go back to the branch. So I go to a different branch of the same bank. This was a different mall, basically, and I finally got some help. I finally got help, and they finally helped me out, and eventually they were able to resolve it, and I was able to finally change my account number, change my password, and all that stuff. I just wanted to get my account back. Oh, and that's one thing that I forgot to mention, was that throughout all this time, when the very first reason, the main reason why I couldn't access my account was because I couldn't buy anything. So that's how I found out. That's how I was able to initially figure out that there was something going on with my account, was I couldn't buy anything. I couldn't purchase anything with my little with my card. You know what I'm saying? So I was trying to use it all the time. I was trying to use it a couple of times. It's like it wasn't working. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't use my debit card basically to purchase anything. It was always like access denied, access denied, that kind of thing. And it was like, oh crap, what the hell is going on? So I finally checked my account and everything, and then that's when I found out, money was stolen from my stuff. So my account was temporarily locked out. So I was locked out of my own bank account, or my debit account, you know what I'm saying? I was locked out of it. So I couldn't access it for all that time. So that was a really frustrating part, and I just wanted to have access to it again, you know what I'm saying? And so I finally was able to get that done. I was able to get that account working again. I was able to access it and access the money there. What I really wanted to do was, okay, I've had hundreds of dollars stolen from me. It's probably gone. It's probably gone forever, and it really sucks. I was really pissed off at partially myself for not paying enough attention to what's going on with my account, and at the same time being kind of pissed off at the bank itself for being this crappy, my account was easily hacked into, and it was, they were so unhelpful. They felt really unhelpful at the beginning, and it just kind of pissed me off that they were not really helping me and not resolving the issue. So I was finally able to gain access back to it, and that's what I wanted to do, was take the money away. I was even considering closing my account, basically. I was considering closing it for good and not even using it anymore, and I'm done with this banking crap, you know what I mean? I'm done with this banking ish. I'm not doing this stuff anymore, I'm done with this banking garbage. I don't want to put my money in this banking thing where they take money out of my account anyway. Every single month they gotta, they charge some money from your account, so you lose money in the long run. And it's like, I'm just done with this. I got my money stolen and stuff, so it's like, obviously there's some kind of insecurity there. It's not a secure, 100% secure thing, and it really just, it ticked me off so much. It was so, man, I was really close to just permanently stop using the banking thing. It's like, no more banks. I'm just gonna keep my money in my house, in my room, or whatever, in my wallet, whatever it is, I'm just gonna keep my money to myself, the actual physical money that I have. I'm just gonna keep it. But realistically, I mean, you really need a bank account, some kind of account. if you're getting money, especially if you're a YouTube partner like me, where I get paid through the Google AdSense and all that. And also that's one of the reasons why I considered shutting down my the bank thing, was because of the Google ad boycott. That's another one where it's like, oh my god, my ad revenue has gone down tremendously anyway. I mean, you're talking about like, I don't know, like a 90%, 95% dip in ad revenue. You know what I'm saying? And that was a really painful thing. That's something that everybody on YouTube has to deal with. Or most people. There's a few other channels here and there. The big ones don't really have to deal with it as much. I'll see a few channels here that have ads anyway. They got that pre-roll ad. WWE, the YouTube channel of WWE, they always have ads because they're an official company. They're a trusted mainstream corporate company. They're established. They're not like a small YouTube channel like mine, or even just any common YouTube channel from this person or that person, and this vlogger and that vlogger that's just kind of an common everyday person that might have questionable content, or at least like content that companies are not aware of, companies that aren't 100% sure of. I'm not WWE. I'm not a big corporate YouTube channel, so I don't have that, I guess, foundation or trust with these other freaking advertisement companies. So I was talking about I finally have access to my account. I got my account back, and I was able to actually get the money back too. So that was the cool thing, was the bank was able to finally resolve my issue, and they were able to actually, my money came back basically. So all the hundreds of dollars that I lost, it came back. I got it back. So at least I was like, wipe the sweat from my forehead, like finally, breathe a sigh of relief, and actually felt like, oh, okay, that was cool. I was able to get the money back, and the bank, I don't know, not reimbursed. They gave me my money back. It was great. They were able to compensate me for the money that I lost. Because I mean, that was painful. What I'm saying? It was just. So that was a very crappy experience, but I did learn a lot from that. So again, if you know anybody that has lost a phone, or even obviously yourself, if you yourself have lost a phone stolen with a lot of information in it, just make sure to change your information right away. Change your passwords right away, your bank account number, your bank account password, all that important stuff. What I'm saying? You want to change that. And also, I don't know, just be aware of logging into websites. Damn. I'm sneezing. I am sick. I hate that. Right in the middle of recording too. That's really annoying. That sucks so freaking bad. You know what? Actually, as a matter of fact, it's been about 48 minutes. I think I'm probably going to stop it for now. I'll probably continue this podcasting thing, but this is episode 2. This is a little bit shorter than before, but we're about 48 minutes, a little bit under an hour. That's not too bad. I was able to touch on some stuff, so maybe I'll record some other stuff later on. But so thank you for watching this episode 2 of the TheReviewSpace Podcast. Check out the channel for more videos, reviews, and top 10s. And until next time, peace out.